friends. Thank you for joining us for another episode of Fort Worth Roots. This is a podcast for Fort Worthians who love our city and want stories from our community's creators. Do you love Fort Worth? Do you want to know what's happening in your own backyard? Then this podcast was made for you. You can find this podcast on all your favorite podcast players, Stitcher, iHeartRadio, Spotify, the Apple One, iTunes, or whatever that is. On social media, it's simply Fort Worth Roots on all of them, whether it's Facebook, Instagram, TikTok. We've even got a Twitter that I don't use very much, but we're out there, Fort Worth Roots, and you can find us on YouTube. We do currently have a little bit of a backlog on the YouTube videos, but as I get time, I'm putting out the videos as well. They just take much more time to put together than the audio. If you have some input for us, and I truly, sincerely mean this, if it's good, bad, you think of something that we could do to improve the show, or you think you might know somebody that would be an amazing guest on the Fort Worth Roots podcast, email me at media@fortworthroots.com. Shout out to our friends at Squad STX Boys Camping. You can find them at squadstx.com. Here's their mission statement. Squad STX is an overnight primitive camping, hiking, orienteering, and laser tag course for boys designed by the U.S. Army infantry officers as an alternative to Boy Scouts and traditional summer camp. We develop strong leadership skills through squad competitions, time-tested military training methodologies, and situational training exercises. Take the time, check it out. Your boys are going to love it. Again, that's squadstx.com. You know that we've been talking about this for a couple of months now. It's the River Oaks Springfest Car Show happening Saturday, April 30th at the beautiful Camp Carter over in River Oaks. Address on that is 6200 Sand Springs Road, Fort Worth, Texas. They're going to have event shirts, dash plaques, goodie bags, vendors and pop-up markets, games and events. There's going to be over 70 classic cars there, lots of vendors. The Oscar Mayer Wienermobile is going to be there, and a few of our guests will be there. One of them is Mark Nobles, author for really incredible stuff that you should check out. One of his books was We're for Smoke, and the other one that we've highlighted on the show is Fort Worth's Rock and Roll Roots. Mark is going to be at the event, but he's going to be running around helping Darren Houck, the person that's put this whole thing together, a guest that's been on our show, Mayor Pro Tem of River Oaks, and just a really great guy and a good friend of ours. He's going to be running around helping him out with the event. So I will have Mark's books at my little station April 30th, and we'll just be there hanging out, talking to people, taking pictures, probably going to do some recordings. Stop on by for a little bit. This thing is running from, I believe, 10 to 4, and you can come out, take advantage of this free event, say hi to us, take a picture next to the banner, and just, you don't have to make a whole day out of it, but just put it on your calendar and stop on by for a little bit just to see what's going on. It's 320 or 360 acres out there of just open space, tucked off in the middle of Fort Worth. It's kind of wild that something this size is there, and it's in an area where you might have never known it was there because it is tucked off. So you need to use that address to find the place. But again, that's April 30th. That's on a Saturday. It's going to be great weather, perfect opportunity to get the kids out of the house and come see what's going on. A quick shout out to our buddy Joe Guzman. He's in the band Flow Stage, which I got to see perform live at Psychedelic Panther this weekend. Matthew Broyles had actually asked me to do an interview with Apuk the Destroyer, a band that has operated through the internet for a decade, and they finally came together to do a live event this last Saturday at Mass for the Psychedelic Panther. They invited me out to do these recordings, so I coordinated with Joe Guzman, the man that put the whole thing together, the first annual Psychedelic Panther event that was 3 days long, and from what I've heard, the turnout was absolutely wonderful. So thank you to everybody that got involved with that. And a special shout out to Ryan Higgs, the owner there at Mass. That gentleman really hooked it up. I told him what we were kind of scheming between me and Matthew and Trista Morris and Joe Guzman, trying to get out there and at least do a recording with Apuk the Destroyer. So, this is the first time they've gotten together. It was kind of a big moment. And Paul flew in from out of the country, and I'm blanking on which country that is, but just it was a big deal. And there were people that came from all over the country to see these guys finally play live. So, anyway, the idea was to get me out there just to record with those guys, and after talking to Joe Guzman and Ryan Higgs, it turned into a big production. They had me come out, put up a 10x10 pavilion out there, and I hung out with these dudes all day. I was there at 1 o'clock and packed it up around 9:45 9:45, 10 o'clock, something like that. But I got to hang out and interview a ton of musicians and people that were organizing this thing. So that was really awesome. And I was trying to decide how I'm going to put that episode out to you, or if I was going to do one episode or multiple episodes. There is a loud ass generator in the background, and I don't want to do a whole series with a loud ass generator in the background. So I think the thing to do here is to formulate just one episode highlighting Psychedelic Panther's first annual event and preparing it for you like that. And I'm going to do my best to delete the noise of the generator in the background. But honestly, it was the best spot that they could have given me. It was as far away from the stage as I could get and still be on the Mass property. But it was incredible. You did miss a good one if you didn't go out to this one, but Joe is already kind of low-key scheming on next year's event. So if you missed it this year, just don't miss it next year. And you can believe we will be talking about it to the point of nauseum once we start getting details about that event. Just absolute murderers on stage. It was great. But again, thank you to everybody that was involved with that, everybody that came out and showed their support. And if you didn't make it, hey, no big deal, but you got to come next year and make up for missing this one, okay? A quick advisory statement. We do talk about some medical stuff expressed in this episode. If Doc says anything, you can trust it to be true. If I say it, if it comes out of my mouth, know that you're hearing it from an uneducated idiot, just as an opinion. So take that for what it's worth. Nothing I say on this show has ever been fact-checked and is probably wrong. Our guest today goes by the alias Doc Rock in his band, the Troumatics, along with Baby Leg and Sonic Boom. This is a really cool deal that has the stage presence of a band that's been around for decades. But I believe they just got started at the end of last year. But just incredible. And if you have the chance to catch these guys play live at any of these local venues, you've got to go check them out. And I'm not just saying that because he graced me with his presence here on the show. I did get a chance to go check them out for their April 2nd gig at Twilight, and it was a blast. So, and be assured we will be talking about it here on Fort Worth Roots and on our Facebook page. If you guys haven't already checked out our Facebook page, that is the best way to see shows that I become aware of with our guests that have been on the show before. Anytime one of the guests that have been on the Fort Worth Roots podcast has something and I become aware of it, I put it on our Fort Worth Roots Facebook page. On Instagram, just look for Troumatics. It's Troumatics on Instagram. And then on Bandcamp, you can find them as Troumatics, Troumatics. And the full website for that's www.troumatics.bandcamp.com to find their music. They're very active on Instagram, so that's a great place to find them. The other side of this guest of ours today is he is an extremely accomplished and well-known hand surgeon. He's been Surgeon General of Texas, public service videos with Derek Nowowski. Did I say that right? You know who I'm talking about. One of the manuscript reviewers for the Journal of Hand Surgery, and he's been quoted as a medical expert in the Wall Street Journal, New York Times, along with other national publications. Just a wildly interesting dude that is a surgeon by day and a rock star at night. All right, that's enough out of me. Thank y'all for being here for another episode on Fort Worth Roots. Please give it up for Doc Rock, Mr. Stephen Troum, and let's start the show. Yeah, I try to keep it kind of eclectic and not box us into any kind of particular corner so that we can interview as many interesting people as possible. And the Troumatics popped up probably through one of the groups that I'm in or whatever, and I reached out to you. Was it like November of last year?
Maybe. It may not have been that long ago.
Yeah, I just know that whenever Ken brought up his brother and was talking about the Troumatics, I'm like, that sounds real familiar. I think I've talked to him.
Yeah. Well, when you first reached out to me, and I was thrilled. I'm like, hey, someone's noticing our band.
Yeah.
And then I asked my brother because he's fairly well connected in Fort Worth. He's he's been around doing stuff with the whole turtle thing. I'm like, have you heard of this Fort Worth Roots podcast and Andrew Turner? And he's like, yeah, I'm supposed to get together with him.
That's hilarious. Yeah. So there's so much going on inside the Fort Worth DFW area, but it always surprises me, even with everything that's going on and all the different people that are creating stuff, that all the little dots start to connect after a while.
They do. The creative world has a lot of intersecting lines, which make it interesting because you end up meeting a lot of people in different areas, in different parts of the city, and it's fascinating to me.
Yeah. It just kind of recently came to my attention that I'm sure you're running into this too, but with me doing the podcast, I need to be getting out and going to these mixers and these get-togethers that different people are putting on, like Here Fort Worth or Visit Fort Worth. These different organizations, they put together little meet and greets or whatever. But that's another great way to start connecting those dots. It's something I haven't been doing, but I think it's really important. Have you noticed that with what you're doing, getting out there and shaking hands and kissing babies?
Yeah, well, yeah, it is. It's a lot about the networking, and I have been to. I started going to those Here Fort Worth mixers.
Okay.
They're the first Tuesday of the month, and
Right.
they're in different places. Mm-hmm. And Tom Martin's the guy that's head of all that, kind of oversees it, and he's a great guy. And the city of Fort Worth is unique in that they are proactive in supporting the arts.
Yeah.
And with Here Fort Worth, that's the musical arm of that. And then even with the Fort Worth Library with the Amplify 817 trying to promote, I'm not an Amplify 817 artist. I hope to be, soon.
Oh, yeah.
But
You will be.
But I hope so. But that's where you meet other artists that you can potentially book shows with. That's where you meet some of the club owners and the bookers. Mm-hmm. And so I've been fortunate to connect through that. And even through my brother, Ken, who we mentioned, he's friends also with several of the prominent Fort Worth musicians and music scene people. And I've been able to meet people through him. And that's how we've been able to book shows and sort of, get the attention of the Fort Worth music scene.
Yeah. Well, your media presence seems like you guys have been rocking as a band for years. You're already in the what not the paper. There was an article I saw about one of the look. I've got it written down in my damn notes.
Yeah, well,
I guess I should break those out. Yeah, the Fort Worth Weekly. You guys already are appearing in the Fort Worth Weekly, so
that's true. That's true. They did an article on us. We're also on the radio. Mm-hmm. We've got we've only been around really since the current lineup since July of this past year. And we've been able to play some shows. We've been invited back and have been playing some of the same venues again. So, to me that says, well, I guess they don't suck.
Yeah, if they're calling you back, for sure.
And they're letting us book at their venues again. And KXT has now played 3 of our songs on their local show, and we have a Christmas song that got some rotation during the holiday season.
Yeah.
And KTCU has been playing like 4 or so of our songs.
That's incredible.
And that's all happened in the last, 4 or 5 months, really.
Well, it's a combination of you talking to the right people and having great content. It's a reflection on your own character, I'm sure.
Oh, thank you. I like my music, and of course, your family will tell you it's good. But it's generating that fan base that doesn't know you to see if, do they really like it?
Yeah.
And is it going to be embraced? And so, we've been able to make a little bit of a splash and hope to make a bigger splash here and ride the momentum here throughout 2022.
I've got your. I don't know if that's your actual logo, but a graphic with the I guess you as a surgeon with your specialized eyewear. Yeah,
well, it's funny if you see, and that's on our T-shirts too, and it says the Troumatics, and if you look at it, it's a head with. It was originally supposed to be a trauma surgeon,
right.
The Troumatics trauma surgeon going in, and it's based loosely off of some of the stuff that I wear in surgery. And you got the surgery bouffant hat, and you got the loops with the little magnifiers on the glasses, and of course the surgical mask. And that logo was designed in 2019 before COVID.
Yeah.
And it was special because it's a surgeon.
Right.
Well, then COVID hit, everyone's wearing masks, and now it could be anybody at Walmart.
Yeah. Well, I was going to ask you about that too, because it could come off to somebody that's not really looking at that, like, okay, you've obviously got the hair guard on, you're obviously wearing specialized eyewear in your logo. it's a surgeon. It's obviously a surgeon. But if somebody just looked at it and they just saw that mask, they're going to, oh my God, was this like a politically motivated band or something?
Yeah, right.
It could turn into that.
It's the COVID
now.
people. And and when COVID happened and everyone started wearing masks and I'm looking at our logo, I'm like, damn.
Yeah.
That kind of undermines some of the symbology that we were shooting for.
Well, I'd keep
trauma
with
thing.
it. It's got staying power. I don't know if the idea of people running around in masks is got the same staying power now that the CDC has basically come out and said they're worthless. They're not effective.
Yeah, every week something different comes out, and the truth changes constantly, right?
It's dizzying. Yeah.
I've never been I don't remember a time where truth was so well camouflaged, and we're not even sure what the real thing is, and everyone's got their side, and I don't know.
We talked about this a couple of times over the last few episodes, but it seems like just throughout history, humans kind of follow the same trends, and it looks different. I think, was it Mark Twain that said that history doesn't repeat itself, but it certainly rhymes? And there's kind of examples of people just following mass hysteria or just totally following a pre-described narrative or whatever. But this doesn't seem too far off from the way humans have acted throughout history. The way we just kind of bit into this and everybody just followed this mob mentality, or I don't know what I'm getting at, but I don't think it's going to stick around. I don't think this idea that people should cover their faces to exist in public spaces is going to... I mean, you can obviously go outside and see that, there's half as many people wearing masks as there were a month ago.
Right.
Now that we're worried, or now that the media is focused on Ukraine and less on COVID,
right,
it doesn't seem to be clear and present in everybody's imagination right now with the just absolute fear of coronavirus.
Well, when it first came out, when Corona first came out, and it was deadlier,
right,
I guess, and everyone was afraid of being an asymptomatic carrier and killing grandma,
right,
yeah,
100%.
And so we got into that kind of a panic, and I think as the virus evolves and mutates season to season, just like the flu virus, you'll have periods where it's worse and periods where it's milder. And I think we're in a trend where, people are testing positive for corona, but they're not that sick. Yeah. I mean, there's still some that are in the hospital and people with other medical problems, and certainly the elderly are at risk. But as far as the general public, I think it's not that bad of a disease as we sit here today.
Yeah.
Now, that's not to say a bad strain may not come out down the road. But as we sit here today, I don't know that we're any worse off than catching a cold or a bad cold, or the flu. Generally, you're going to live.
Yeah.
And that we shouldn't let it impact our economy and our lifestyle as much as I think we have in the past. Yeah. I think we can move beyond that for now anyway.
Yeah. I think everybody's opinion kind of changed throughout the history of this from the inception of it, early 2020. People freaking out because we didn't know what was going on. And then as we got more and more data and personalized experiences, we were able to form different opinions and analyze the facts and the numbers. And then the back and forth with all of our political figureheads, taking side steps and one step forward and two steps back on statements that they made. So now I know in the very beginning, I was definitely 100% more concerned than I was a year later, but I don't think that the polarization or the political divide that people are feeling from their opinion with COVID needs to be so written in granite, because everybody had an opinion of it in the beginning, and I feel like that has shifted throughout the course of this, except for some people that think we should all live in a bunker wearing 4 masks over our face and staying away from all human contact and ordering
isolation
everything through Amazon.
Right.
Anyway, we don't have to get deep into that, but I know that you, being in the medical field, a doctor yourself, a specializing surgeon, you have probably a ton of great firsthand experiences yourself. And I tell people all the time, your individual experience with coronavirus is going to determine how you feel about it.
Yeah, I agree. And yes, I am fortunate, as a physician. And to those of your audience that don't know, I'm a hand surgeon, but I'm active in this multi-specialty group that I'm part of, and I'm on one of the committees that helps. We determine policy for our group, which is a 300 plus provider group, offices all over DFW. Well, how are we going to deal with corona in our patients and in the offices? Because the reality also is that the CDC makes different rules for healthcare providers than they do for the general public. And I'm fortunate to serve on one of the committees that gets to see some of the data that's from the CDC, that's from the scientists. Because there's a lot of people yelling about this, right? But then there's also the doctors and the medical people. And obviously I'm biased because I'm one of them, but I think those are the people that you ought to listen to.
Well, I think that's a pretty fair bias.
So a lot of the other more politically motivated people that don't necessarily have the medical background or access to the data, I don't know that their opinions are as valid.
Sure.
But I get to see some of the data and how from other healthcare providers and infectious disease specialists, and we determine what our policies are going to be for our office. And we're always going to err on the side of conservative. But that being said, as we said before, I think you're right in that I think it's less and less of a true threat and more of a political
It's
discussion.
here to stay, right? Like, this is something we'll deal with for the rest of our existence as humans, probably. A new virus that's not going anywhere.
That's true. And what's funny is it's got the front page for a while there. Yeah. And I remember driving down the road and I saw this big puddle of standing water and I'm thinking, man, West Nile virus isn't getting the love that it used to get.
Yeah. Oh,
right?
God, how
it's still
terrifying
there.
is that?
I mean, there's still tests for mosquitoes and everything. I think they do, but you don't hear about it.
My fiance came down with West Nile about maybe 4 years ago. It was so wild. She was having these weird, medical issues, and she'd been to the doctor several times, and they still couldn't figure it out. And then she came home one day frustrated because her doctor couldn't help her. And I said, well, some of this might be. And I'm like, oh, probably not. Yeah, it could be. Why don't you ask next time you're in there to have them give you a test for West Nile? I don't think it couldn't be, possibly. No way. Right. But why don't we just knock that off the checklist?
You had the hunch.
And so she did. She went, and I don't know, I'd listened to something on a podcast, or maybe I saw a commercial, or anyway, not because I have any kind of education in it. Anyway, so she did, and they did a screening for her. She came home and she's like, I have West Nile. I'm like, no, you don't.
Yeah, that's not even the news now.
You're right.
You can't have it if it's not in the news.
And this is before coronavirus, right? But anyway, sure as shit, she did. And city of Fort Worth got notified, and they came and they sprayed our neighborhood. Isn't that crazy? So yeah, there's stuff out there. It's like the flu virus and all this stuff. We could go on about this dumb shit forever, but yeah, it's funny how some things get the front page for a while and whatever, but never waste a good crisis, I guess.
That's right.
So, but yeah, diving into your stuff on social media, and I found it was kind of like a short bio on everything that I can't remember who made the article, but they were talking about your professional side and everything that you've accomplished, being board certified in surgery of the hand by the American Board of Surgery. And then through the Texas State Legislature, you're an honorary Surgeon General of Texas.
Yeah, back.
What does that mean?
I don't know exactly. I must have done something that pleased somebody. But back then, I guess it was the legislature, and then they had the a governor pro tem. I think it was Jane Nelson, who's a senator. She was governor pro tem, and as part of that, they get to bestow honorary titles. Mm-hmm. And somehow my name came up, and I became the honorary Surgeon General of Texas. Now, and this was a number of years ago. It's not super recent, but I remember I got this weird invitation to come to Austin for this dinner, and I didn't know anything about it, and I just kind of blew it off. And it's like, you're invited to come, because I thought it was a fundraiser.
Yeah.
And trust me, when this happened, I didn't know any of the Texas legislature. I didn't contribute any money to anybody.
Right.
I was not vested in any way. But I took care of, I took care of a lot of people. I was active at the time in the workers' comp thing, which I guess was a hot topic back then.
And what kind of give us a time frame? What year is this?
This was 2004, 2005, so a good 15 years ago, 16 years ago. And I remember getting this letter that to come to this dinner, and I thought it was a fundraiser or something like that. And I'm not going to go do that. And so I kind of blew it off. And then a couple of weeks later, I get this big envelope, like an official thing from with a certificate and a letter. And
that they were going to probably present to you at the event.
Yeah, that they were going to present it at the event. And I'm like, I can't believe I missed that.
Well, that's somebody's fault for not, You'd think you'd get a call or something for something that important.
Yeah.
They just sent you something in the mail. How much junk mail do we sift through on a daily basis?
All the time. And you get stuff in the mail all the time. Oh, you're invited to a dinner for this presentation kind of thing at, Trulux or, insert expensive restaurant here.
Yeah.
And, you just glance at them, throw them in the trash. Figure they're just selling something or they want your money or something. And, this apparently was not that. Yeah. But it happened, and it was cool. And the certificate and the letter that came with it are hanging in my office to this day.
Yeah, that's awesome.
And I haven't met a lot of other people that have had that, so it was kind of special. And I was sort of tickled about it.
That's awesome. So you mentioned workman's comp. I would imagine that you, in your specialty, that would be pretty important for that program, because probably most of the workplace injuries involve the hand, I would think.
A lot do. And so although most of my practice is not work comp, certainly when people are injured at work, and their hands are obviously very important to things that they do. And so getting those people taken care of and back to work is important. Over the years, the way Texas has set that up has changed to make it actually a little bit harder to take care of those patients, just because of the paperwork and the.
Is that maybe to avoid some of the potential fraud that might be involved with a process like that or a program?
Probably so.
Yeah.
Probably so. I'm not as in it today as I was 10 years ago. So I'm not an expert in it, but the way they treated the providers as far as the paperwork required, and then of course the reimbursement that you got, and sort of the hoops you had to jump through to take, which is more hoops than you do for a typical patient.
Yeah.
It became labor intensive, and so it was more expensive to take care of them.
Yeah.
And but they were trying to regulate, because there was a lot of fraud and a lot of unnecessary, I guess, people out of work and disability and stuff that was going around. And there's always a little bit of that going on, maybe even a lot, depending on who you ask.
Yeah.
Where either I found that patients either had legitimate injuries and everyone said that they wouldn't approve their treatment and they need to just get back to work, and that was the fault of like the insurance adjusters. Or there are patients out there that get an injury and they try to get some extra time off or whatnot, and whether that's medically indicated or not, and these conflicts arise out of that. And so it's just sometimes a tough population, and not necessarily blaming the patients, but it's just a tough population to take care of.
Yeah, well, and that can make it difficult for specialists like yourself, or maybe even the practice that you're in. You might try to avoid stuff like that just to stay out of that whole minefield of extra hoops that you have to jump through in order to get the funding back, or make sure that everything's. It just sounds like a huge headache. So you might try to avoid that.
Yeah, it is certainly certain cases. Now, I am all about, if there's a patient that's hurt and they are motivated to get better and get back, I mean, we're going to get along great. And I love seeing those patients. And if I'm dealing with a work comp adjuster that trusts my specialty and my expertise and says, we're not going to deny anything that you want to do, just get this patient back best that you can.
Yeah.
then I love those adjusters.
Yeah.
But yeah, it's hit or miss.
Yeah, I'm sure. It's a nasty game, insurance.
Yes, it can be.
A lot of unpopular stories inside that subject. So with your profession and working on all those tiny little tendons and bones, I'm sure there's lots of information in there that the general public doesn't know concerning that. Is there anything kind of as a PSA you'd like people to know, our listeners need to know about their hands?
Well, it's funny because years ago I appeared a couple of times on a radio show that as a physician, not as a physician/musician like today.
Which is a very cool combo, by the way.
Oh, thank you. And we'll get into the music stuff a little bit here, I'm sure. But here's the thing. When people think hand surgery, one of the most common diseases they think of is carpal tunnel syndrome.
Sure, yeah.
And everybody that has hand pain will get labeled carpal tunnel, and that's not the case. And I'm here to tell you that if you have pain in your hand or numbness or tingling, which is also the classic symptom of carpal tunnel syndrome, it's not always carpal tunnel syndrome. And so if you have those kind of symptoms, make sure you see a qualified specialist to figure it out for you and tell you what you really have. Because many times I see patients that tell me they've got carpal tunnel syndrome, and after I examine them and get the right testing, that's not what they have.
They got that diagnosis from Dr. Google, or?
Yeah, whatever, or you know, Aunt Betty or something, and, or someone else that had the same thing and that sounds like what I got, kind of thing. And there's a lot of sources of alleged medical knowledge out there. But if you got something, like I said with the other stuff, it's the medical people that you need to listen to.
Yeah.
And get it checked out. Not everything is carpal tunnel syndrome. There are other things that it could be. A lot of these things are treatable. The other thing is hand arthritis. People think, I've got arthritis. There's nothing you can do about that. Well, actually, it depends on which joint it is and what you got, but there are things that can be done. You won't know that until you see a specialist and get checked out. So,
just as you're talking about this, I had an off-the-wall idea. How many of your referrals, people come in the door saying they've got this kind of issue or that kind of issue, and you end up referring them back to like a spinal specialist or something because they have issues with their hand, but it turns out to be in a completely different region of the body outside of your specialty.
Yeah, no, that does happen. It happens in a couple of areas. One is, yes, they come in with numbness and tingling in their hands. We work them up. We find out they actually have neck problems.
Right.
I have spine surgeon friends who see patients with the same thing. They think it's their neck. They test them. They find out it is carpal tunnel syndrome, and they send them to me. And then I have patients that come in with different kinds of arthritis that it turns out they actually have rheumatoid arthritis or lupus or something that's more of a systemic medical thing, not a hand surgical thing. And so I'll refer them to a rheumatologist for the medical treatment of that. And so a lot of these other specialties, we will share patients. Various diseases can manifest in the hands different ways. And so one of my challenges is making the right diagnosis. And once we have the right diagnosis, making sure we institute the correct treatment. And that isn't always surgery. It isn't always even with me. And but I usually know who to get you to if it's not.
Yeah, that's an awesome combination, though. Whenever I found out that you were also a surgeon, and then I look at your band, I'm like, this is pretty wild. You working on people under the knife during the day, and then going and playing gigs at Mass. So that's pretty awesome.
Yeah, it's music is my passion outside of work,
right.
And I tell people my birthday's in June. I'm a Gemini, and I think I embody that dual twin personality thing where I've got my professional side, which I work very hard at. Again, I was Surgeon General of Texas. I've done public service videos with Dirk Nowitzki that you can find on YouTube.
That's really cool.
I'm one of the manuscript reviewers for the Journal of Hand Surgery, the flagship journal of our specialty in the world. I've been quoted as a medical expert in the New York Times and the Wall Street Journal, among other national publications.
That is awesome.
And so I have experienced a lot of success on my professional side, above and beyond just being the local hand surgeon.
Yeah.
And then the flip side of that is I'm also doing this music thing where I love playing and writing music. I've been playing music, with my brother for years. We've been in various bands together and just jam sessions. I have a little home recording studio that I can just demo stuff. It's not high quality stuff.
Is that where y'all recorded the stuff I've been listening to on YouTube?
It depends on what you're listening to on YouTube. If it's
let's see, You Hurt Me First and Rocket and Flight. How about those two?
Well, so there was, during the pandemic, I did a little series where I was just recording myself, and I think I took them down since then, but I had the video of the day because I was out of work, you know? I mean, we were shut down. No one was coming to see the doctor, even though I was allowed to go to work. I had clinic like once a week, and we had like 3 patients during that bad part of the pandemic where there was a big shutdown. Compared
to what would your normal workload be?
I'm in clinic a couple of days a week, and I'm in surgery 3 days a week. And, they had a kibosh on elective surgeries for a while because they needed the hospital resources for COVID.
Yep, I remember that.
And so, for like a month or so, I was shut down.
Damn.
And I was still seeing some follow-up patients, but, people that have a ganglion cyst or a trigger finger that's not an emergency, they weren't coming out. I was still seeing some trauma.
Yeah.
But that being said, I had a lot of free time at that time. So I was just recording myself, playing my stuff in my studio, with an acoustic guitar.
That's cool.
And doing singer-songwriter stuff online. But when we released our mastered record that were professionally recorded, I think DistroKid puts them out on YouTube with just a picture of the album cover, and then you listen to that. And if you've been listening to that, then that was recorded professionally.
Okay.
That we recorded at Audio Styles, which is Taylor Tatch's studio, and he's very well known in the Fort Worth music community. He's in Cutthroat Finches. His band Shadows of Jets is getting ready to come out with some stuff. Almost anybody in the Fort Worth music scene knows who he is.
Say his name again.
Taylor Tatch.
Oh, okay. Where's their studio at?
Well, his studio at the time was in Dripping Springs outside of Austin.
Familiar with it? Yeah, I actually just moved from there.
Yeah, and he just moved and is reopening the studio in Fredericksburg.
Okay.
But he still has strong ties here in Fort Worth, so he comes up and, he's actually the guitarist for Cutthroat Finches. They're getting ready to, play some shows. Shadows of Jets getting ready to play some shows here. And then it was mastered by Todd Pipes, who is famous for being in Deep Blue Something and doing that song Breakfast at Tiffany's from the 90s.
Okay, yeah.
So he's the Breakfast at Tiffany's guy. But he also, lesser known, is he's also produced and recorded music for a lot of acts, including Flicker Stick and that song, Let the Bodies Hit the Floor.
Yeah, Drowning Pool?
Drowning Pool, yeah. As well as some other acts also.
Yeah.
And so he lives in Colleyville now and has a studio. So I've been working with him for a lot of the newer stuff, since driving to Fredericksburg is kind of tough to do with my schedule now.
I don't know that they do a whole lot of, and I don't know that they don't, audio recordings for bands, but that studio that I was in with Ken, Nexum, I think, probably screwing that name up. But it was mind-blowing the way they had these different rooms set up. I don't know if that's a studio worth mentioning for musicians to record at, but damn, that was cool.
Yeah, I'm not as familiar with that one.
Yeah.
I know Todd's Studios, he used to be Bass Propulsion Labs, but now it's Phantom Power Studios.
Okay.
And then Audio Styles with Taylor, if you want a nice destination studio in Fredericksburg, that would be a cool place to go. Again, he was in Dripping Springs when I recorded, and that was kind of neat.
Where was that studio at? Because I know Dripping pretty well. I was there for 9 months.
It was at his house.
Oh, okay. Cool.
So, yeah, it wasn't... it was right near... What's that pool that people go visit? Hamilton something pool?
Hamilton Pool, yeah. I went to check it out, and we got to the gatehouse or whatever, and we're like, yeah, we wanted to know... if we could just come in and check it out. We weren't going to swim in it because it was too cold. And they were like, yeah, you got to get online and get tickets. Like, what? Yeah. All right, whatever. So we got online, looked at tickets, and then they had a 6-month-long like backlog. Like he couldn't go there.
Holy cow.
Yeah, and I don't know if that was from like COVID restrictions or what the deal was. So I never got to see it, but I know what you're talking about.
Yeah, well, at the time, the studio was right by there.
Oh, that's cool. That's cool. Yeah, it's real pretty in that little area, that valley. Are you familiar with Orb Recording Studio down kind of on that same main drag?
I am not.
Okay. There's another really badass studio. They've got, I think, 4 different recording rooms, but the bassist from Blue October owns that one.
Oh, neat.
And I don't know why I'm just mesmerized with these studios. It's where people go to make magic happen.
Yeah.
And put it on a
They're
record.
creative epicenters.
Yeah, and I don't know. I just dig the vibe of these studios. I just want to go there and hang out. So
It's cool.
So I'm sure that Fredericksburg Destination one is probably pretty badass too.
Yeah.
Especially for somebody that's been in the business and probably has a passion for putting together a pretty badass studio. Otherwise, he wouldn't have chose Fredericksburg to do it. So I bet that's a pretty cool place.
Yeah. Yeah. I've yet to be there, but I'm looking forward to checking it out one of these days. So.
Well, you guys have a show coming up pretty quick here, Saturday, April 2nd at Twilight. There were a couple other names on the ticket, that 9 o'clock show.
Yeah. Yeah. So Nathan Waller, who's sort of an acoustic rocker, and has opened for us probably now 6 or 7 shows. Cool guy. He used to front the band called Mahoney back in the early aughts, I guess. And he's starting to get some of that revved back up again. But he sings a lot of his original stuff just on acoustic guitar, and it rocks pretty good. And it's a good lead into what we're doing. And then the second band that's playing is Boss Riot. And they're a classic ska band, not a punk ska band, but, you know, one of these ska bands you might hear on a cruise ship or something like that.
Okay.
But the guitarist is another doctor friend of mine, Ryan Reeves, who's a pain management doctor, and one of these guys that works with spines that you know we share patients with, and so we're sort of buddies both in medicine and in music.
That's so cool. I didn't know there were 2 of you running around.
Well, yeah.
Is he a Gemini also?
I don't know. But he's in this ska band, and we're like, we need to put a doctor music show together and get, you know, invite the medical community to come out and hang and listen to some cool tunes. And so that's how I'm hoping it'll go down.
Nurses get in free?
Well, everybody gets, yes, I'll say yes. And it's ladies' night at the Twilight. Yes, everyone gets in free. And that's, Saturday, April 2nd. And then we have a tentative date, which we still need to iron down, at Magnolia Motor Lounge on Friday, June 3rd.
Boy, that place is going out.
It is. And yeah, so this is the last year they're open. They lose their lease November 1st.
Yeah.
And we played there last year. That was actually our first show on June 10th of last year. And they're going out, so they're still booking acts till they go out, but because they're not going to be around long, there's a limited number of slots left, right? And so just the fact that he offered us a Friday night was very flattering.
Hell yeah.
To us.
Yeah.
That he would, you know, let us book. And again, I'm sure if some big out-of-town act came in and wanted that night, we might get bumped to another
Surely
night.
not.
But
what a shitty thing to do.
But
surely they wouldn't.
I would hope not. But you know, I get it. We're still a little dog right now, but we're trying to build up. And
that was June. Whenever you played your first show there.
June 10th.
Whenever you guys started, was it Baby Leg, Sonic Boom, and the Flyer?
Well,
along with Doc Rock.
Yeah, well,
did you guys all? Was it the same people? Did y'all have?
So at that moment, a guy named Mike Flyer Meyer, he's a retired American Airlines pilot, nice. And he was our original drummer, and he's the guy that we went into the studio to do the first set of songs with, and he played that first gig. But then once he fully retired, he wanted to travel, so he couldn't commit to the band. And so we got Dan Sonic Boom Elliott, who's actually the husband of a nurse that I used to work with.
Okay.
And he came in and just fit in great. He's been doing it for years. He's a seasoned guy. He also does backup vocals, which we didn't have before. So it really elevated our live shows to another level. And it's worked out. And Mike's still around if we need a backup or something like that. And awesome. A cool guy, but again, he's sort of traveling. So we're a 3-piece. With Sonic Boom on drums and then Baby Leg on bass. And so
where the hell did y'all come up with these names? Did y'all show up with these names whenever y'all got together? Did y'all spitball ideas? What your stage names needed to be here?
So I sort of let the guys pick their own nicknames because I wanted to have fun nicknames. And I don't even know the story behind Baby Leg, so don't even ask me.
That's the one that needs explaining.
Yeah.
Too, yeah.
It could mean all sorts of things. And I think he did that on purpose to make sure it was ambiguous.
Yeah, it's definitely an attention grabber, though.
And the drummer was, he originally wanted Big Boom, and I thought, well, Sonic Boom sounded better, so we kind of compromised on that. My name, Doc Rock, is actually an old inside joke karaoke stage name that has now snowballed out of control.
From your younger years?
Yeah, for younger years, hanging out with people, and we go to karaoke, and at the time I didn't really want to use my real name, just in case there were patients out there or other people that. So someone else dubbed me Doc Rock, which is not very deep. I'm a doctor and we're singing rock, so blah blah blah.
It works.
Yeah, it worked, but it just stuck, and people just started calling me that, and I haven't really been able to shake it, so I'm rolling with it.
It works. It's perfect. So, well, I got to see you guys play live, but the recorded music I've heard so far, you guys sound great, and it's no surprise to me that you're getting attention from people, and Magnolia has given you up one of their last Friday night spots before they close down. So you guys just need to keep doing what you're doing, but it sounds great. I can't wait to catch you live. Maybe I'll check out Twilight. I've only been there once. It's a good venue, and I think every single musician that's come in here and interviewed with me has been playing at Twilight. Like, it's a very hot spot right now.
It is, and it's a cool spot. It's a cool vibe. We've played there before. This is our second time playing.
Yeah.
And again, when I reached out to them, it's like, yeah, we'd love to have you play again. So we put together the show. They never charge a cover. It's Saturday night, so most people don't have to work on Sunday. So yeah, if that's the show, that's a good show to catch because there's no cover. It's free parking. It's on the weekend.
They do comedy too.
They do. They have a variety of different shows there, and they'll have a broad spectrum of acts, jazz, and other popular bands play there. Death Ray Davies play there a few months ago. Cutthroat Finches play there. A lot of well-known Fort Worth and Dallas-Fort Worth bands will play there. And, it's cool for me to say, well, I've played on the same stage as, so-and-so.
Yeah.
So, it's pretty good. We're getting ready to get back into the studio to record some new stuff. I'm still writing. I stay active in the Dallas Songwriters Association. I was actually named their 2021 Songwriter of the Year.
I think I saw that.
This past year. That was a great honor.
Yeah.
And through them, I'm doing a solo. I had played Deep Ellum Arts Festival before, doing a solo acoustic thing, and then coming up in May at the Wildflower Festival in Richardson. I think I've got the prime Saturday night spot at like 9:30.
That's awesome.
On the stage to do, again, just solo acoustic versions of my stuff. But, one thing we haven't cracked yet is we still don't have as many followers as I would like on social media. Yeah. And I don't know how that works.
It's difficult. I think that the younger generation with these new forms of social media, they just have it in their DNA. Like, they're just so damn good at it. I've sat in this room with people that have 140,000 plus followers on TikTok. And I understand TikTok well enough to navigate it, but I don't understand it well enough to know what people want to see, I guess. And my level of give a shit is also pretty low. Like, I'm not going to be making TikTok videos in the bathroom.
Right, shaking your stuff.
So, not that anybody would want to see that anyway, but it's not inside my wheelhouse. So I think some of the social media stuff, you got to have a presence on there, and people will go and they will check it out, and that's the way you get somebody comes and sees one of your shows, they might want to show you to somebody else, like, oh, hey, check this out, the Troumatics. We saw them at Twilight the other night. Oh, let me see if I can find them. Oh, yeah, there they are. So it's important in that regard for sure.
Yeah.
I also have found that through I had a small business that I started in like 2016, and getting into that, social media was very powerful, and I was able to pick up a lot of customers off of that. And that kind of started to dilute itself a little bit. And here we are in 2022, and I don't feel like social media is nearly as impactful for anybody trying to reach out and get people's attention. And I think most of that is because of the algorithms supporting the kind of stuff that we're talking about, early 20-year-old girls shaking their ass and putting that up on TikTok. That's the stuff that plays well, so that's the stuff they promote.
Yeah, that's the stuff that gets hundreds of thousands of plays.
For sure.
So nothing I'm going to put on is going to be that interesting, trust me.
It's not going to compete with that. So the algorithms just don't support it because they know it's going to get somebody to keep flipping through that thing and get them stuck in a loop for an hour on their damn phone or more, looking at cute puppy dogs, fast-moving cars running into walls, and girls in tight pants. So,
yeah. And weird animals.
But anyway, all that to say, I think that the real staple and it's always been like this, and I think it will always be like this. And now that the trend of social media is kind of playing itself out now, I think that what people are going to start realizing is that you got to get in front of people in the flesh. Like, you have to go to these things. You have to go to mixers. You have to go to events. You have to go to venues, and you have to actually talk to people. And I think that social media will always be just as important as having a phone number or an address where somebody can send you a letter. Mm-hmm. It's going to be just as important as that. But I don't think that it has the same relevancy that it did maybe even 5 years ago. I just don't think so. So the fact that you don't have a shit ton of followers on social media, I do not think is a bad deal, especially seeing how you're getting rebooked at venues. You're playing highly sought after venues with limited space. You're the 2021 singer-songwriter for the year. I mean, you've got all these accolades.
Like 4 songs on the radio.
You're
now.
Obviously doing pretty damn good.
Yeah, some press. You invited me here.
Yeah, don't use social media to gauge your success. I wouldn't think. Maybe I'm dead wrong, but I feel like I'm right.
Yeah. Well, I think our plan is, you could say it's old-fashioned, but it's one, write and play good songs. That's what I want to do, number one. And then number 2, get out there and play in front of people, old-fashioned way, and get people to see you live.
Yeah.
And let the word of mouth spread that way. Mm-hmm. Because, our style of music, is more of like the college alt rock from the late 80s, early 90s, the REM kind of stuff, or Spin Doctors, whatever. And a lot of the fans of that music are not necessarily the social media active,
right?
And a lot of them are content just to listen to their old REM albums or their old Smithereens or whatnot, and not search out new music. And I'm trying to break into that, and say, hey, there is some new rock and roll out there that you're gonna like, and it's not the pop stuff, and it's not hardcore,
right?
But it's fun stuff, it's good sounding stuff, and we want to continue to put quality stuff out there.
Fort Worth Weekly. There it is. They called you guys indie rock outfit. And I was like, is that indie rock? But, you're classifying it totally different. And what I'm finding out through listening to different musicians, going to these shows, and then talking to artists here in the studio, is that there's so many damn subcategories. And if you talk to 5 different people, you're going to get 5 different categories for your music. Is that kind of what you're tracking?
That's exactly right. There's so many subgenres. Well, are you death metal or are you
definitely death metal,
heart metal? There's all these different kinds of just metal. But to me, indie rock means you're doing what you're doing independently, right?
Yeah,
and we are. Mm-hmm. We are. There's some truth to that. There's just 3 of us. There's a guitar, a bass, and drums. That's classic garage band kind of stuff. Mm-hmm. So there's a little bit of that in there. Certainly my musical influences are too broad for one conversation. Right, but a lot of it was the rock of the college alternative rock of the late 80s, early 90s. and but also Beatles and some Britpop thrown in there. And so I'll play my songs, and I'll have people say, "Oh, I hear a lot of the blank in there," and the different, the different acts that I've heard that they say our music makes them think of, makes me think that our music really is hard to pin down.
Yeah.
Because they'll say, "Oh, I hear Tom Petty. Oh, I hear Elvis Costello. Oh, I hear Spin Doctors. Oh, I hear the Beatles. Oh, I hear the Byrds. I hear psychedelic." I'm like, okay, yeah, I can see there's a little bit of that in there. Mm-hmm. But it tells me that, yes, it's a product of a lot of influences. It's not necessarily pinned down into one particular genre.
Yeah.
And certainly can vary song to song. I mean, we have some country-ish sounding songs, not a lot, but one or two that have a little bit of a rockabilly beat to them.
Yeah.
And then some pop ballad songs and then some just nice, cool rockin' songs.
Now, you and Ken, both of you have brought up each other in your musical influence or whatever. Your time as a musician, you guys both bring that up. Like, you guys played a lot together growing up, right?
We did. I actually found an old photograph when we were going through like our grandparents' old photos and stuff of, I think I must have been 5. Ken's 3 years younger than me, so he must have been 2 or 3. I must have been 5 or 6. And I've got this like little mini guitar, and he's got a bongos with some sticks on it. And we're sitting on the couch just whacking away on it. And I'm like, that was our first band.
Man, if you get a hold of that photo, if you can send it to me, I'd love to put that on here.
And sure enough, years later, Ken's playing drums and I'm playing guitar, and we've got a little band in, high school or whatever, with some of his friends, and playing some pizza parties or whatever. Mm-hmm. All the way to when I was in medical school in North Carolina, and he was in that band too. So even though we've lived in different parts of the country and our paths have been dramatically different, both successful in different ways, we've continually intertwined and interconnected at various times throughout our lives.
That's so awesome.
And so you can't deny that, like it or not, you can't deny the influences. So they're there, and I embrace it, because I could have had a much worse brother, trust me.
Well, you guys seem like y'all have a great relationship. I mean, when he left L.A., he could have gone anywhere, but he chose to be here with his brother. So
yeah,
it says a lot.
Yeah. So,
well, and now what side of town are you on?
So technically, I'm up in northeast Tarrant County. Okay. So the South Lake area, but not the part of South Lake that's in the press right now.
What happened in South Lake?
Well, the political stuff has been in the news a lot lately.
With the schools,
with the
right?
schools
Yeah.
and the race things and stuff like that. Yeah. And I have no part of that.
Yeah,
I don't have kids. I mean, I pay a lot in school taxes, and I was thinking about showing up and taking Spanish or something.
Right, because
it's like, hey, I'm paying for this.
You own a home. Yeah, I remember thinking that up in North Fort Worth, whenever I had my first house, and I saw the amount of taxes that were coming out for schools, and I'm like, man, I don't have any kids.
Yeah.
Why?
Right.
Why am I having
I'm going to go swimming in their pool. Dang it. I paid for it.
I couldn't even use the track at the high school.
That's right.
Yeah. Yeah, like I'd use it anyway. That's one thing I've really gotten out of is running. I used to run a lot. I did marathons and half marathons, and I'm like, I need to get back out there and start running. Every 3 or 4 weeks, maybe I'll go out there and I'll run around the block. I'll be like, that's good for today. I'll do more tomorrow. And then 3 or 4 months will go by, and so even if I could use the local track, I probably wouldn't. So
the intention was there.
It was. Yeah.
And I give you credit for that.
So do you, if you're not gigging down here, do you play or do you hang out in Fort Worth much?
I do. I still come down and hang out with my brother, who's down here. I hang out with some of the, I go see the other acts, the other bands, the same venues that I play. I'll go see other, acts. I pay for my ticket because, it's hard to make money in this. Trust me, I'm not making any money off this music stuff.
Right.
So selling T-shirts and people paying for tickets and, streaming the stuff, or even better, downloading it off iTunes makes a few cents. So yes, out there, go to Spotify or iTunes and download our stuff.
Yeah, and that'll all be in the links. But do you have some links you want to shout out while we're doing the recording? Is there somewhere you want them to go specifically?
The typical stuff.
Okay.
You know, we've got a Bandcamp page right now where you can listen to the stuff and download them and buy them. Certainly the music's on iTunes.
Just go to Bandcamp, type in the Troumatics.
Yeah, Troumatics.bandcamp.com. Now, Troumatics is spelled Troumatics, like my last name.
If you spell it the way it's supposed to be spelled, you will get some weird stuff on Google. So, just a warning. I did that this morning, and I'm going to need an hour with my therapist. Don't type traumatic into Google.
Yeah, don't do that. Yeah, because then they'll send a social worker out to you. Right. But it's Troum. And follow. Please go to Instagram if you're on Instagram and follow us at Troumatics. We got a Facebook page, and then for sure, if you're in the DFW area and you see we're doing a show, come out. I promise you, it'll be a fun show. You'll enjoy it, and if you like good new original rock and roll, that's not hardcore but not too fluffy either. We might be right in your wheelhouse.
Yeah, I think anybody would enjoy it. And if y'all just go to Facebook and check out the Troumatics on Facebook, their photo right there up front shows you what a fun band they look like. They'd be to go see. So these dudes definitely look like they're having a fun time.
We do. That's what it's all about. We wouldn't do it if it wasn't.
So what are your not for gigging, but if you're going to go see live music, what's your favorite place in Fort Worth?
Ooh. Man, I hate to pin it down because...
Well, give me two.
All right. I do like going to... Like, if I'm going to see some intimate stuff, I like the Post at River East.
Okay.
Mass, certainly, for rock and roll. Magnolia... Lola's is fun, too.
I was hoping you'd say Lola's.
Lola's is a lot of fun. We've played there twice now.
Almost everybody says Lola's.
Yeah.
It's a good little place.
Well, I heard a rumor they're getting ready to move.
Oh, come on, man.
Yeah, man. I think their land is for... I don't know. Yeah, I'm a little bit talking out my ass, but the things I've heard is that they're preparing to relocate somewhere.
God damn it.
And, Twilight, where we're playing on, is a cool bar, too, with an outside patio and some great frozen drinks and Cajun fried food.
I didn't know they had food there.
They do.
Oh, damn.
Oh, okay. Man. You like French fries? You can love these.
I love French fries.
They have po' boys, and they have this frozen Irish coffee drink that I like. That if you really want to go high test, you put a little shot of Bailey's on it.
Shot of what?
Bailey's.
Oh yeah. Twilight was on the maybe list last night because Guitar Frenchie, one of the guys that's been in here and just an all around badass dude, was playing at Twilight last night. But I had been up since 1 a.m. He was playing at 9, and we were on our way back to the house at 9. So.
He recorded with Taylor Tatch with his Frenchie's Blues Destroyers.
Did he really? Yeah. Frenchie's is the shit. Love it.
Yeah, he's cool. Tulips is apparently a hot place, too. I can't get them to call me back, though, to book a gig. But
you know what?
I would love to play there one day.
I might have just misspoken. He might have been at Tulips last night. I'll have to double check that. Yeah, Tulips is a pretty happening spot. That's not too...
Yeah, it is.
It's on the same side of town, isn't it?
It's all in that, I guess, what they call the near south side sort of area.
Yeah.
Back in the day, it was called the hospital district, which being a doctor, that's what I remember. I
still kind of call it that.
Yeah. But they've really been proactive in, I guess, the gentrification and putting in some cool venues and some stores and some restaurants in there. So, it's burgeoning into a nice little cultural area.
Right before COVID hit, and I can't remember who told me this, they were set to open up 40 different businesses in that area that you're talking about.
Yeah.
And I don't know how many made it, with all the coronavirus shit. It's definitely transformed. That whole area is just amazing.
It has.
It's kind of become our favorite, more of a favorite spot than 7th Street. That whole 7th Street area for years was our favorite stomping grounds. But it's always been kind of a pain in the ass. Sorry, TCU. You guys are great, but it gets overloaded with the TCU kids after about 9:30, 10 o'clock. It starts, and then by 11, if you're still down there, you're mad at everybody because there's no way you're going to be as drunk as they are.
Right.
You cannot compete. You can't.
Well, yeah, a lot of those places are closing up. As you know, the land's getting bought, it's getting rezoned as, I don't know, condos or something.
It's a sinking ship. Yeah.
Yeah, so Magnolia's leaving, Lola's is relocating. I think Fred's Texas Cafe had to move. They haven't already.
I think they're already closed down, right?
Are they?
I think so.
I think their original location might be.
So, yeah, but they're relocating. They're going to be off of Camp Bowie somewhere, I believe. And I didn't know that Lola's was going out. That sucks. But you said they're relocating. Do you know where they're going to go?
I have no idea. And again, it's purely rumors. I don't want to be, that's what I've heard. I've heard, the land was for sale. I don't know if a deal's been done. I know.
We won't hold you to it. Dr. Steve said.
Yeah. So it must be true.
Yeah.
But those were some of some of the stuff I've heard on the street.
Yeah. But the hospital district, quote unquote, or whatever you want to call it,
near South Side.
Yeah, it's the new hot spot. I think that's going to be the fun thing. And then, of course, we've still got the stockyards, which I'm amazed with the way they are innovating and creating more stuff down there, but also still keeping that vibe.
Yeah,
it's a busy ass tourist trap most times of the day, but there are still some really important jewels down there. Have you been through the ISIS Theater?
I haven't been there, but it's funny you should say that because I was just in contact with the owner.
Jeffrey Smith?
Yeah.
Yeah.
And so the last here Fort Worth Mixer was actually at the Second Rodeo Brewing Company restaurant there.
Down Mule Alley.
And so I got a chance to walk around there for a while because I'm not a cowboy guy. I'll be, I'm a rock and roll guy. So
that's okay. All are welcome.
So yeah, but I realize it's part of the profile of of Fort Worth. Yeah. It's part of their the face they put
where
out
the
there.
West begins.
Yeah. So somehow I got someone gave me his card, and so I reached out to say, hey, I got a band. What's going on? And so he put me in touch with his talent buyer, and so we've got a dialogue in process. I don't know if anything will come of it.
Oh, I'm sure.
But you never know. And there's some other venues there that have singer-songwriter stuff going on. And yeah, it is more geared toward country, but sometimes they'll break away from that.
Yeah, if you look at their lineup, though, I mean, they've got everything going on there.
They do.
They've got guest speakers that just come out and talk, and they've got comedians and musicians of every genre. I mean, it's a pretty cool little place, and just the history behind it. I don't know if you know this, but it was closed from 1988 until about 2017, 2018, I think, when they had their soft open. No. I've got that wrong. I think they opened up at the very end of 2019 or at the very beginning of 2020. Anyway, it was closed for a really long time. The roof had caved in from water damage. The entire auditorium, all the seats and everything, just absolutely destroyed. So they had to strip that thing down and rebuild it almost from ground up.
Wow.
And so Jeffrey and his wife did all of that independently. He's been on the show. That's why I know all this.
Okay. Yeah. Sounds like you guys have crossed paths already.
Yeah. But you can go in there and get all this information too. I mean, you can talk to the guys behind the bar, the guys selling tickets and popcorn. They all know the story, and it's pretty cool. And it's nice to see that somebody, almost out of the goodness of their heart, decided to take on a challenge like this. I mean, that place was a dumpster, and it was really sad that it had gotten that way because it originally was constructed in 1914.
Wow.
And it is some really important history for the city. A lot has happened in that little building there. So it's just great that somebody was able to get in there and say, I'm going to take charge of this and make this what it used to be, a great place for people to come and enjoy the theater. So.
Yeah, that's cool. Well, we talked to him. We told them our band is available to them if they should ever want us to play their venue.
You probably will have to stay on them, though, just because they keep a very powerful lineup. They've got people there all the time, so don't wait for him to call you.
Yeah, I understand. I'm learning the business. I'm getting it.
We ran into Carrie and Paul Smith. Their band is Late to the Station. We caught them down in the 7th Street area. Here I was talking shit about the 7th Street area, but Kung Fu Saloon, that's a cool little place.
Oh, really?
Yeah, it's they've got arcades lining a back wall. They've got an outside kind of courtyard area with some Airstreams. And the Airstreams have been converted into karaoke booths.
No kidding.
Right? Yeah, and they'll have a DJ that's playing on the inside. They've got, I think they've got cornhole out there. They've got seesaws. They've got adult-sized Plinko, and we were playing with the Jenga logs. It's just a cool spot. And then if you ever go into Kung Fu Saloon, and you should, first of all, they've got these hamburger egg rolls that you got to try.
Wow.
Sounds ridiculous, but they're delicious. And then the second thing you got to know before you walk into this place is there's a peephole in the wall. And I'm not going to tell you what's in that peephole, but 7th Street area, place is called Kung Fu Saloon. When you walk in there, go past the bar where the skee ball machines are, and to the left of the skee ball machines, it's not advertised. There is nothing illustrated showing you like, hey, look here.
With the big arrow.
There is a peephole in this blank wall. Look in that peephole, and then let me know what you found.
All right. I accept that challenge.
Anyway, so we go out to check out Carrie and Paul Smith, late to the station. They just dropped a new album. Shit, where was I going with this? Oh, we were talking more about how it's important for artists they got to integrate it into their schedule. They got to call these places and tell them, hey, this is who I am. I'm looking for places to gig. Do you have an email where I can send you a link or show you what we do and what our music's about? We'd love to play at your venue. And you got to integrate that into your schedule. Are you doing stuff like that?
I am.
Yeah.
I am. I also just started working with Thurston Company, which is...
Sounds familiar.
Yeah, they've actually worked with several of the other artists. They do a lot of the artwork. I guarantee you've seen their... Connor Dardis is the guy that runs it.
Okay.
I guarantee you've seen his posters.
Okay.
They're usually very colorful, rainbowy kind of stuff with almost sometimes an Art Deco vibe to him.
Is that what he does? He's just a graphic artist?
He does a lot of stuff, graphic stuff.
Yeah.
And he has a business beyond just music or whatnot that I don't fully understand, but I know he works a lot with local artists and venues to create content, video content, graphic content. He worked with us to set up we're still working with him to finish up our website. So ultimately, the Troumatics.com will be its own website.
No, that's not up yet, is it?
I think you can go on to it, but there's not a whole lot on there yet.
Okay. Because I was looking for a website today. I didn't find it, but I probably got busy chasing rabbit holes.
Yeah, it's
trails.
It's buried, and I'm not necessarily ready to big release yet because we're still working on some of the content. We just had a band shoot this past week, which was cool. We went down to Sundance Square and went to different alleys, did some rock and roll shots and stuff.
So cool.
Yeah, I'm looking forward to seeing them.
Who did the photography?
Simone Nicole did.
Okay.
And she's a singer-songwriter who's on Amplify 817, who's out there doing stuff too, and she does photography also to help kind of
you got some cool friends.
We did a show at the Post a few months ago that Brooks Burris came and photographed for us, and he's an icon, well-known, award-winning photographer. Of course, Johnny Govea, who did the story for Fort Worth Weekly, is also a photographer, and he caught us at Lola's Saloon. And he was actually there to see Tommy Luke was actually one of our warm-up guys. Mm-hmm. And you could very well argue that he should have been the headline, but I booked the show, so I got to be there. But he was there to take pictures of him and just secondarily happened to see us and got into it. And so we were able to connect. Awesome. And ultimately that led to the article at Fort Worth Weekly. And
they're on it, man.
I think that, we've released a bunch of singles. We're going to release another single or two more, and then we're going to release an album, which includes those singles plus a couple of extra things. Yeah. And I think once we do the album release, don't be surprised if you see us in the paper again.
Yeah, well, yeah.
And then, actually, 360 West just did a story on us, although I think they're going to put it in the 76092 magazine.
I'm not familiar with that one. I'll have to try to check that out.
76092 is the zip code for Southlake.
Okay.
And so I think there's limited distribution up in Northeast Tarrant County. They also have another magazine that's Fort Worth zip code, the 107.
Oh, okay.
magazine where they do special stuff. And then, of course, they have got 360 West, which is, everything west of 360, obviously. But they just did a story on us, and I'm looking forward to see that get published.
That's awesome.
We'll add that to the press.
Well, this recording here is going to be at least 4 weeks out before we drop it. So if your website's ready, if you've got anything else that you want me to add to the show notes whenever I drop this episode, just let me know.
Okay.
So, and I'm looking forward to seeing all these badass pictures you're talking about.
Oh, cool. Well, our August or our April 2nd show will have already happened. So hopefully when you're listening to this, you'll say, yeah, I got to see him at Twilight.
That April show?
The April 2nd show. So it'll be after that. But certainly before the June 3rd show. So if you are listening to this out there and it's after April 2nd but before June 3rd, come see us June 3rd.
There you go. And that'll be at Twilight too, you said?
No, that'll be at Magnolia Motor Lounge.
Okay, Magnolia. That's right. That's the Friday you were talking about.
Friday, yeah.
Perfect.
So hopefully we don't get kicked off the bill, but I think we'll be all right.
You won't. Jesus, who would do that? Magnolia, don't you dare. Don't you dare do that.
Music is a business, I'm finding out. So they'll make whatever best business decision they have, but I think we'll be all right.
Well, Doctor, I'd love to have you back on the show. Maybe your bandmates would like to come, maybe even jam here in the studio. We have our artists from time to time when we can talk them into it, play here. So
yeah,
if y'all'd like to, we're set up well enough to crudely record. I've got the mic that we can use if you don't have an XLR port to plug into. But
yeah, well, I'll bring my acoustic guitar next time. I don't know if we'll fit our drum set in here. But,
yeah, probably not. Yeah,
but I would definitely be happy to do some acoustic stuff for you.
That'd be awesome.
Maybe some new songs that haven't been out yet, and you'll get the premiere.
That'd be awesome. Yeah, we've had see who's done that. Joe Savage did it with one of his tracks before he released it. That might have been the only one, but we've had unreleased music played here in the studio before. So,
all right.
And then I tell all of our guests, once you've been on the show and our audience knows who you are now, I can start sharing your stuff. So if you tag me or if you send it to me directly, that way I don't miss it, and I'll put it up on our Fort Worth Roots podcast page.
Oh, that's awesome.
So
yeah.
Any and every post that events coming out or a single drop in or whatever you got.
Yeah, and Andrew, I'm here to tell you that as an artist in one of the Fort Worth music community, we really appreciate the stuff you're doing to help get it out there and support the arts and support music, support the musicians, and help grow the audiences. And again, we all help each other out, and so really appreciate it.
Well, it's an absolute honor. Thank you for saying that. I hate to say it, but I think kind of the newness of it has worn off some. It has. From the beginning, it has blown my mind. The people, including yourself, someone with such an esteemed background and excellent music, so many big things going on in your world that you would honor me by being on my little podcast. Like I said, the newness is kind of worn off a little bit, but it just amazes me the people that say yes. I'm also surprised by some of the people that say no, but
they don't know what they're missing. That's a bad decision.
But thank you for saying that, and it truly is an honor to have you here. And I don't want to ever lose sight of how humbling it is to have someone like you in our studio, willing to do a recording with us. So thank you.
Oh, that's very kind. Thank you too.
And I'll be seeing you hopefully at your April 2nd show. And if I miss that one, I'll definitely be at the next one. So
awesome. It's a pleasure.
Thank you so much. And I'll hit the outro music. Fort Worth Roots. Thank y'all for listening, and we will see you next week. Bye. Steve Troum, Doc Rock, thank you so much for being on the Fort Worth Roots podcast. It was a sincere honor. Damn, this dude has done a lot with his life. He's not wasting a minute. You guys got to check him out on Instagram. It's the just Troumatics or the Troumatics. Troumatics is Troumatics, and you can find that information in the show notes. On Bandcamp, it's troumatics.bandcamp.com. And whenever he's ready to release that website, you'll be able to find it on our Fort Worth Roots Facebook page. If you haven't checked it out yet, go there. Next time your legs are falling asleep on the toilet, check us out, Fort Worth Roots, on Facebook, Instagram, TikTok, Twitter. Now, Twitter, I tell you guys all the time, I don't really mess with Twitter. We do have a Twitter account, and maybe one day I'll grow up and start using it, but God, man, I'm trying to stay ahead of these other ones. So this weekend was incredible. Again, Ryan Higgs, Joe Guzman, Matthew Broyles, Tristan Morris, thank y'all for getting me involved with the Psychedelic Panther this weekend. It was an absolute, it was a success. It was a win. It was great. And I was so happy to see these people succeed. So many people poured themselves into this, and you always get just a little bit nervous when something that big is being put on. You hate to see it fail. But fortunately, that is not what happened. Direct opposite. Lots of people came out, and really excited to see this thing continue. Hey, Fort Worth Roots was at the first annual Psychedelic Panther. That's a title I get to hold forever. But it's only because I was invited out there, and it's only because everybody was super nice and gave me space. And Joe the whole time was, hey, great set. Since you're coming off stage, stop by Fort Worth Roots podcast over there, that little 10x10 that we got tucked off in the corner, and he'll talk to you and get you on a recording. So Joe was instrumental into making it a success for myself as well. The least important person at that whole event, I promise you. And Ryan Higgs, gentleman, was all over the place, making sure that this went off without a hitch. And the teamwork and the camaraderie out there. And I'm not speaking well enough about everybody out there, but I don't have all the names in front of me, but dozens and dozens of people were instrumental in making that a success. So it was awesome. And you guys just, I don't know, keep an ear to the ground. Whenever they start talking about doing the next annual one, we will start telling you about it. I won't be as incessantly psychotic about this event for the foreseeable future. I'm not going to talk about it for a year like I have been with River Oaks Car Show. The River Oaks Springfest Car Show, Saturday, April 30th. I know, we're almost there, folks. I'm almost done talking about it. I just really want you to be there, so come check it out. Like I said, free event. You don't have to stay all day, but you could swing by, see what I've been talking about. Come say hi by the booth over there at Fort Worth Roots, and we'll take a picture. And whatever. It's going to be great. We're done with all that. Yeah, I did go see them at Twilight. I saw the Troumatics play live at Twilight April 2nd, and ran into Steve and Baby Leg and Sonic Boom. And is that right? Yep, Sonic Boom. And I saw Ken Scott, our Ninja Turtle friend from episode, what was that? It was a few ago. But anyway, I got to hang out with that whole crew. And these are just awesome, just joy-chasing, fun-loving people. And it more than made my night. It was so cool just seeing people like that and getting a chance to hang out with them. So, and the music was incredible. Steve's like jumping off the stage and playing out in the audience, and guy's a nut. But anyway, it's crazy when you see him play. You're like, that dude's a surgeon. He's a professional. Behave yourself, Steve. Awesome show, dynamite. And you would never guess if you didn't know the history of this band, you would think they've been playing together for a decade. Just incredible. Lola's, yeah, I've said it a few times on the show. The rumor that Lola's might be closing down and moving to a different location, and I think we can go ahead and say definitively that's accurate. And I can't believe that they're doing this, but I have spoken to somebody that I believe they work there, or they have the inside scoop, and the location that they're going to be moving to apparently is going to have even more room than the current Lola's location. So this is going to be a net win for Lola's. We're not losing Lola's, but they will be moving. So that ratty little corner they've been on forever that we all passionately adore is going away, but maybe this is a good change. Maybe this is the update that place needed. Although I thought there was nothing wrong with Lola's, but my opinion doesn't matter. June 3rd, Magnolia Motor Lounge. Come check out the Troumatics. I'll be there, by God. And this information will be in the show notes, of course, but put that in on your calendar. I think I saw that they are doing something in May, but I'll have to check that out. I'll put all the cool stuff in the show notes for any dates that they've updated. But yeah, you can find this stuff on our Facebook page. Anytime they tag us or we just happen by it, we immediately share that stuff. So anyway, show's been going great. I'm talking to a lot of cool people. We got sponsored in an online magazine. What else cool stuff has happened? We got to go to that event. Show's just doing really good, but it's got nothing to do with me. It's you guys, the listeners, that are propping the show up. Every single time you stream one of these episodes, it shows up on our analytics, and it makes the show stronger. So thank you. Thank you for listening. That website I'm always talking about, or excuse me, my email, media@fortworthroots.com. Genuinely, sincerely, would love for you, anytime you want, drop me a quick little email. Hell, you can even DM me on Facebook if that's easier. But any kind of criticism for the show is very well received. Bad stuff, good stuff, things that need to be improved upon or completely omitted from the show. I'd be very receptive to that email, your constructive criticism, or just blatant rage. You know, if you're very mad at me, you can email me and tell me why you're so mad, and that'll be okay too. I'll probably send you back some like uplifting messages, like, it's okay, I still like you, you're a good person, or so, I don't know. I could probably do better than that. I'm rambling, aren't I? Yeah. Well, we only got about 2 weeks left until the event. We are going to continue to do 2 episodes a week for now. As you can tell, I mean, Steve, Doc Rock, and I are sitting there talking about April 2nd in this episode like it's several weeks out. We recorded with Steve weeks and weeks ago. So that's why we're doing the 2 week, or excuse me, the 2 a week episode release. And it comes with some struggles, you know, but I'm making it work. So the episodes have been coming out last couple of weeks, really late on a Thursday. Because I don't want to cut an episode out to you that's not finished, not prepared. So I got to do my work. Got to put that blood, sweat, and tears into the episode before I release it to you. And sometimes it takes all the way up to Thursday. So, all right. I feel like I was trying to get to a point here. I always feel like that, though, don't I? Thank you guys for sticking with the show. As I learn and try to become better at this, it's been one hell of a rodeo, and we're going to keep it going. I feel like there's some accelerated momentum here. We're kind of working our way into the local culture here with the musicians and the artists and the authors, the business owners, cool people that we've had on the show that are helping me connect with really awesome people. In fact, here I go rambling some more. Ken Scott, Ninja Turtle Man, the brother of Steve Troum, our guest today, got me linked up with the owner of Nexum Creative Media. I believe that's right. I'll have to check. Anyway, I did an interview with him this weekend before I went to the show, and this dude has, from nothing, developed a really powerful solution for any kind of content creator, musician, photographer, whatever. This studio is set up to help people out that need a space to do their creations. I've got a picture that I'm going to put up on Facebook today of me in front of a infinity wall that he has here at the studio. The thing stretches floor to ceiling, no corners in it. It's completely white, like real white, whatever that means. Real white, dude. But I'm standing in front of it, and it looks like there's a filter applied to it because it doesn't look real. It's a really strange effect, but it's a tool that professional photographers need, and you know, most people that are creating work a full-time job maybe, or they just don't have the financial ability to build their own infinity wall. Basically what Paul told me this weekend, and you'll get this interview here in a few weeks, but whenever he was trying to get studio time, whenever he was making music back in the day, he would run into people that were basically running it real shitty. You know, they would charge you for time at these spaces, promise you a whole list of things. And then at the end of it, whenever you walked away from these studios, you never got what you paid for. So he's not the cheapest guy in town. He encourages people not to sell their services for an undercut price, because you shouldn't. As a creator, you shouldn't do that. You're worth more. You're worth what you're worth, so you don't undercut yourself. So he definitely does not advertise himself as the cheapest solution in town, but he does try to make it affordable. Is kind of the point. I'm butchering this. I'm trying, Paul. I'm sorry. But Paul was a really great dude. We had a lot of fun, and I'm looking forward to doing some more work with him. He invited me up there to Nexum Creative to just hang out and bring my computer up there and work on the show and just be in a positive, creative environment. So we'll be spending some time with Paul, and I hope we get to do some more work with him. And I don't know if that was even relevant for this episode, but that's where I'm at on this Sunday. I hope y'all had a powerful weekend, a really great opportunity to connect with your family on Easter Sunday, and that all is well and good in the world for you. All right, I'll shut the hell up. Please come to the event, River Oaks Springfest Car Show, April 30th at the Camp Carter. You can do it. You can do it for yourself. You can do it for your kids. You can do it for me. Come on. All right, that's it. I will see you Monday. Y'all have let's see, what day? What am I talking about? This is Monday. Y'all have a great Monday, and I will see you Thursday. How about that? All right, peace.